Want to go to Luke's for a cup of joe?
Nope.
Where you lead, I will follow.
Every fall, Jamie starts watching Gilmore Girls again.
Anywhere.
And
What you want
I just don't understand it.
When you
Like, I'm not saying it's a bad show, because it's not. I just, why do they talk so fast?
Jeff, that's part of the charm.
I don't really care about any of the characters.
Oh my god. Hello everyone, welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about
board games.
And
Juno being stressed.
Man, she hates it in here. We have a special announcement to start off this video because we haven't fully told everyone yet, but we have found a studio space. And I know what you're thinking. Number one, you're thinking, I thought you were building a studio space. And what happened, Jeff?
I don't even want to rehash it. It's causing me stress thinking about it. One, finding literally anyone to even get you a quote on building was impossible.
Don't like to respond.
People just don't respond to emails at all, ever. And then when you do get a quote, it is the equivalent to just building another house.
Yeah. We could have bought another house for the price that we got quoted. So we were like, you know what? Considering there was no plumbing, nothing, just a marble slab.
It was basically just a shell. And it was like, hey, it's X dollars. And I was like, I could go buy a house for that much. And they're like, ha ha ha, we know.
Anyways, the point is, we decided to rent a space instead, and we have found a space which is very exciting. We have the keys. We are starting the move-in process, which means the Making a Studio series is going to be underway soon, okay? Great. And the only reason I just brought that up and thought about it is because Juno pacing around here like she wants to throw up. I hope she doesn't do that at the new studio.
She'll have way more room to go hide.
Yeah, I don't know.
And she'll probably have a couch she can sleep on. She'll be fine.
She'll be fine.
It's going to be months of her getting used to it.
Yeah, there is a wiener dog in the office next door, so at least she'll have that. Anyways, we are here today for a board game snapshot.
Pacha! Pacha!
Sometimes it's like you forget.
I know. Well, I was scared.
Yeah, Juno doesn't like loud noises, fun, laughter,
Juno doesn't
plastic
like
bags,
I don't know
children. We're back again for another board game snapshot. For anybody that doesn't know, that means we are doing 5 mini reviews or previews depending on the game. And we got 5 very exciting games to talk about today. So let's dive into it, shall we?
Yeah, I'm just petting Juno's butt.
Jeff's going to pet Juno's butt, which is Fluff City right now. All right, the first game that we have to talk about is called Shallow Sea, and this is from Bad Comet Games, who very kindly sponsored this portion of the video. Now, you may recognize the name Bad Comet because they have also done games that we've covered before, like Life of the Amazonia and Wondrous Creatures. They are knocking it out of the park with all these games, let me tell you. Now, this, my friends, is prototype because she's naked on the back, so any footage that you see is prototype and subject to change. But let me tell you a little bit about Shallow Sea. This game is essentially a mix between Calico and Cascadia in the sea.
Is it the sea or it's a coral reef, right?
Yes, which is in the sea.
I understand. I'm just saying.
Do you know what the ocean is? It's pretty big.
Do you?
It's quite diverse. I can see it from that window. The point is, in this game, and the reason why I'm comparing it to games like Cascadia and Calico, you'll kind of see as I explain, but this is a tile placement kind of puzzle style game. So essentially, you are going to have a bit of a market in front of you, which is going to consist of 2 tiles and 1 fish. So tile, fish, tile, tile, fish, tile, tile, fish, tile, like that, okay?
What is it?
Tile, fish, tile, tile, fish, tile. Tiles on...
Wait.
Tile, fish, tile.
Got it.
Yeah. The tiles on top are coral tiles. And of course we have the fish, remember tile, fish, tile. Then the tiles on bottom are the shallow sea tiles. So what you're going to do on your turn is you are going to select a combination of a fish and a tile from one of those columns. You can either choose the coral or the shallow sea. Then what you're going to do is you're going to place that tile onto your ocean board, and then you're going to place your fish out onto a bubble on your ocean board. Now basically the coral tiles and the shallow shallow sea tiles are going to score and act in different ways. A coral tile you'll put out on your ocean face down. Then all of its corners are going to have different colors. And you need to match those corners with that same color fish. And if you get all the matching colors, you get to flip that coral tile over and you'll get to score those points at the end of the game. If you don't flip it, you don't get to score points. The shallow sea tiles work in almost like a scoring objective kind of way. So they're each going to say, hey, you have to have only the same fish going this way, or 3 of different fish going this way, or only the same coral here and here, whatever it might be. What?
You look like one of those like air traffic control people or whatever they're called.
So if you put the fish here, and then if you put the tiles in the back, then it's clear in the front.
That's actually pretty good.
Thank you. Anyways, that's what you're doing, and you are essentially just trying to score as many points as possible. So once again, going back to why I compared it to those previous games, the tile selection and the token selection works very similarly to Cascadia, and the objective, like puzzle, works very similar to Calico. So if those are types of games that you enjoy, this is definitely a game that you should look into because it has all of those elements. The only difference is we're in the deep blue sea. Actually, we're in the shallow blue sea. Okay, because it's coral reef, as Jeff mentioned, which is in the ocean. You're going to continue doing all of that until each player has 4 empty spaces on their ocean board. You're going to score your points accordingly. There are a bunch of different types of shallow sea tiles that score differently, so you don't use all of them in your game. So there's a lot of variability within this. You can kind of mix and match, and of course, you could play this solo as well, which is going to give you different challenges.
It's like a Finding Nemo puzzle game.
It's like a Finding Nemo puzzle game, Jeff. Excellent reference.
You're welcome.
Loved it.
I'm just out here throwing down bangers.
Yes. So Shallow Sea is currently on Kickstarter. So if you are interested, the links are going to be in the description below. And of course, you know, we've talked about all of their previous games already, and you know, we're big fans of them. So it gets a thumbs up from us. But if that's something that sounds interesting to you, you can check it out in the link below. But that is Shallow Sea.
Do be facts.
It do be facts. Jeff loves fish. So I've heard that about him. All right, let's stay in the ocean, and we're moving on to Sea Beast from Littlest Lantern Games, who very kindly sponsored this portion of the video. Sea Beast is also currently on Kickstarter, okay? Much darker type of sea. Ooh, very spooky. Essentially, this is a either solo or cooperative experience, 1 to 2 players, where you are playing as freaking Vikings, and you have a goal to deliver your cargo to a port, okay? This game is essentially you either lose because your boat sinks, or you lose your cargo, or you win because you've made a successful delivery. So throughout this game, it's going to be kind of cycling through 4 phases. The first phase is you're going to be sailing, which is kind of exploring the sea, sailing through the sea, and pulling what we call depth cards. And those cards can be events, or they can be beasts, which you're going to have to fight. So that's the first phase. Then those beasts are going to friggin' attack you.
Of course.
You know what? I mean, beasts, they do be like that.
That's in their nature.
There's a bunch of different beasts, and they're going to attack in different ways and do different things, but primarily they're going to be doing damage to your ship, okay? Next up, we have the Vikings attack. Now, that doesn't mean they just attack, but this is essentially your action phase, and in this phase, you can do things like you can move, you can attack, you can repair your ship, because it's obviously, as it gets damaged, you need to repair it to make sure that you can continue going on.
You don't think?
Exactly. And then there's also some special actions that you can do. Then we are going to go into a kind of a refresh phase where you refresh things and the beasts are going to move and do that kind of thing. And you're just going to continue doing that until one of the end game conditions is met. Once again, either your boat sinks or you win, essentially. So with this game, you can play just like a regular standard game, and you could choose short, medium, or long, or you can do a campaign mode. If you do a campaign mode, you can play with more players. I believe it's up to 6 players, and your voyages just kind of get attached onto each other. Okay, so you've got lots of options with this. This is definitely a game for people who love true cooperative games, or if you really are looking for a solo challenge. Not an easy game to win. The rules themselves are very straightforward, but
yeah, you've lost a lot, right?
Yeah. you know what? Sometimes you just get eaten by beasts, and it just is what it is. And it plays relatively quickly. So if you want to just play a quick game, you can play it in like 20 minutes. And if you want to play a longer game, it might be like 40 minutes. So even a longer game isn't like a crazy long commitment. Once again, this is currently on Kickstarter. Definitely recommend you check out some content. I know lots of people have done stuff. Watch videos, do the reviews, do all of that good stuff, and see whether or not Sea Beast is a good fit for you. I do believe that we will be doing a playthrough of this later in the year. So you stay tuned for that. Okay, you just stay tuned. Sea Beasts.
All right, next up from Chip Theory Games, we have this bad boy, Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era.
Look how damn, boy.
I'll just quickly mention,
thick.
this is a pre-production copy. This was gifted to us from Chip Theory Games. Elder Scrolls is a large campaign-esque Chip Theory game in the similar beautiful DNA that is Chip Theory Games. Similar in DNA to Too Many Bones, but it's taking, in my opinion, Too Many Bones and making it less of a one-shot boss battler experience and really building that out to be a much more narrative campaign-esque experience, but still with similar Chip Theory DNA.
And obviously set in the Elder Scrolls
And obviously
world.
set in the Elder Scrolls world, being a very popular video game IP.
Have you played it?
From Bethesda? Yes, I have. I've played a ton of Skyrim. So Elder Scrolls is kind of like the umbrella of all of the. There's like Valenwood, which is an expansion that you can get in this game. But anyway, let's get into the actual board game. In Elder Scrolls, you are all going to be going on an adventure through the Elder Scrolls world, and you're going to be picking your class, you're going to be picking your race, just like you would in this IP, and then going out, adventuring, doing side quests, doing main quests. It's really kind of somewhat open-ended, wherein you can do the main quest missions, but if you want to level up, if you want to get more XP, because you're probably going to need to do that, you can go on side quests. You're going to meet companions that you can add to your party. There's just a ton of things that you can do in this game, and a just plethora of content.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many different races, and you can mix and match these things together. On top of the race and the class cards, there's like these specialization cards that are, like, you know, maybe you're a little bit more sneaky, or maybe you're a little bit more. Yeah,
and you can get multiple throughout the game.
And you can like you're constantly upgrading your character.
Those skills are like your special skills.
Yeah, and
basically.
it's just they've done an incredible job to actually make this game feel like the video game. Like, if you've played the video game, you're going to feel a lot of those same feelings when you first start playing them, where you're building your class, adding your special abilities, and all of these things. You're going to go around finding items that you can add. But again, similar DNA to Too Many Bones. It uses the stacks of chips. It uses the dice. It uses the health counters. It's using all of that similar, again, Too Many Bones DNA that we... Well, not even Too Many Bones DNA, Chip Theory DNA. Yeah,
Chip Theory DNA for sure. It's just like, I would say it's like a more streamlined version of some of the Too Many Bones stuff.
Yeah, I think there's streamlined insofar that the system is a bit easier in terms of like upgrading your character and the actions you can take and how those actions work in comparison to Too Many Bones. Too Many Bones, I think, has much more ruled heavy overhead in it than this game does. I think they've taken some of the lessons possibly from Too Many Bones and applied it to Elder Scrolls. Also, like, there's so much you can get with this game. They have like a metal first player token. There's like blacksmith packs and expansions. There's a Valenwood expansion that's already out that gives you more quests, more races, more everything you can play with. There's neoprene mats. I mean, this is getting the full Chip Theory.
It's a premium product.
It's 100% a premium product,
even in its basic form.
And I would say everyone out here knows that I love big box campaign games. Yeah, and they're very difficult to table. And that's a very valid, like, concern about these games. Yep. But what I would say about this one is after I played it, it not having the miniatures and all of the extra like stuff really helped. Kind of, I think, in terms of like setting it up. It's still a campaign game with a lot of components.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not that, but it felt a little bit more streamlined to get set up and playing this.
Yes.
Than other campaign games I've played somewhat recently.
And I think a big part of that, so like obviously we're comparing it to Too Many Bones a lot because that is the chip theory game that we have the most experience with. Of course. And I think if you're like, well, will I like this if I like Too Many Bones, or like what's the difference? I think the biggest thing with Too Many Bones is there's a huge rules overhead to start for each character. Whereas in this instance, you're building your character as the campaign goes on. So you don't need to know every little thing, and your character is going to like transform and be different game over game. So I think that that's kind of where some of that streamline element comes, because, you know, I'm not having to learn one character's full set of rules before playing. You basically build that as you go, and each session is only around 2 hours long. Yep. So it's a campaign, but you could do 2 hours, and obviously you can save the game. Yep. You could do all of that, and yeah, so that's kind of the biggest difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And like where Too Many Bones is like you're kind of stuck, not stuck, but you know what I mean? You're playing that, it's a one-shot, so you're playing that for like 5 hours. It's not as easy to pick that up and go be like, all right, we'll come back to it later. Whereas this is. I just want to mention too, like, again, there's similar DNA wherein there's the big map, neoprene map, but there's also like Battle Clash maps. There's so
and they like build out. It's like instead of having cardboard tile, it's
there's
like
so many. It's beautiful. It's a completely beautiful, amazing production, and I think it did the justice that this IP deserves. Do I like it? Yes, I absolutely adore this. I would be very shocked if this does not crack my top 50 at some point in the future. It does have the similar hindrance of all of these games wherein it requires the right group and the dedication to play it and get it set up and tabled, and you know, it probably benefits from being able to be left out if you have that ability. And if you don't, it's fine. It can be picked up, and the storage containers and everything are phenomenal in here. There's places for everything. But yeah, I adore this. But again, I'm a bit biased. I adore the IP. I think if you like the IP, you're going to love everything they've done. I'm sure there's probably some nitpicking in terms of like things they might have had to have changed in terms of the actual like history and storyline of the original IP stuff. But again, that's just what happens when IPs are transferred over to board game stuff. But yes, I don't really have much negative to say other than the fact that it is a big box campaign game. And I don't think that's a negative. It's just a reality of what this game is.
Yeah. And if you're curious, I know nothing about Elder Scrolls or the world or anything. So for me, this is just like a cool fantasy world. And if you're into like RPGs, if you're into kind of like living as your character and doing the upgrades and doing all of that stuff, you're going to enjoy it. I really loved it. Considering that I don't know anything about Elder Scrolls, I was just playing a chip theory game, I guess, in my opinion. This does not replace Too Many Bones for me.
They live in harmony of...
I think they live in harmony. There are some people that are probably going to get this and be like, yeah, you know what? This is my new game that I'm going to like play through and whatever. But for me personally, I would say no. I think you can play this solo. This is a game that I would rather play with other people, whereas Too Many Bones, I think, is a better like solo experience.
It's the best way to look at it, in my opinion, is Too Many Bones is the one-shot version of that fantasy trope of like, I want to go fight some baddies and do some upgrades and whatever. It's a one-shot experience.
Yeah.
You can set it up, play it, and be done with it. This is a complete campaign narrative story. You're going to be playing through this. And like, what I think is really cool is even if you don't know the IP was very good at using traditional like RPG-esque tropes where it's like you're gonna be a dark elf ranger. And like if you are into fantasy, that's gonna resonate with you.
Yeah.
And like the world is got dual purpose. It's going to resonate with people that have played the video games or the PC games, etc. And it's going to resonate with people that haven't, because it is a fantasy story. So if you're into fantasy tropes, all of these things are going to make sense, but it's also going to do fan service when they hear the names and the places that they're familiar with.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I'm super into this, and there's already a ton of like expansion-esque stuff. Like I mentioned, you can already, I believe Valenwood's already out, or part of the product line.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of expansion stuff that I could see them coming out with is
endless,
mm-hmm. And I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But I the other thing too is it is a hefty beast of like actual physical weight.
It is very heavy.
It might be the heaviest game I've ever lifted.
She big. I will say we're going to put all of the information that you need to know in the description below for Elder Scrolls, and there's going to be so much content on this from a lot of our fellow creators. I know Nick and Mike are planning on streaming it. Yeah. There's going to be gameplays, there's going to be how to plays, there's going to be reviews, previews. So do your research, watch as much as you can to get a good feel for the game and see if it's a good fit for you.
I would love to do some... we have no plans for future content on this at this time,
mm-hmm.
so don't hold
as we move.
Don't hold this against me if it doesn't happen, but I would love to do some more content about this and actually like open it up and show you it, and even if not playing it, just maybe hop on a live stream and show you what's inside and give you a little bit more insight, but stay tuned for that.
Okay, we have 2 games left. The next game we have is Onoda, and this is from Salt and Pepper Games, who very kindly sent this game to us for review. Now, Jeff hasn't played this game because this is a solo-only experience. Salt and Pepper have been doing a ton of like this size solo games. As an example, there's Resist, there's Witchcraft, there's a bunch. So this one is their newest one that is coming out. Now, I do want to start by saying that the theme of this game and the content is a little bit controversial and maybe a little bit sensitive to some people. So this is based off of a true story about a soldier called Hiro Onoda, who was a Japanese soldier, and in World War II he was sent on a mission to an island in the Philippines where he was essentially there to represent Japan and to do some not so great things, essentially.
Not so great war stuff.
War stuff, yeah, pretty much. He wasn't the only one that was sent. He was sent with the team. But the story is, and this once again is a real story, is that he stayed there for 30 years. And he continued to live out his mission doing not so great war things even after the war itself had ended and people had told him the war is over, which he then believed was propaganda that was trying to trick him. So he stayed and lived in the jungle for 30 years in the Philippines, carrying out this mission to show loyalty to his country, essentially. So that is what this is about. And the reason why there's a little bit of controversy around it, of course, is because, you know, it's going to all depend on your perspective and which side you were on and like all of these things, because some people would consider him a war hero. Obviously, some would consider him a murderer, essentially, because he continued to stay on the island well after his mission. So, very kind of sensitive topic and controversial, I guess, innards. However, the game itself is trying to stay true to that history, and essentially how this game works is you are playing as Hiro and you are going to be going on different missions. There's 6 rounds, up to 6 rounds, and each round you're going to be pulling a new mission card. Those mission cards, there's actually a way you can set it up to make it historically accurate based on the missions that he would have gone on in that particular order. But they basically like tell the life of Hiro through those 30 years and what he was kind of doing. So you are going to pull a mission card, and then you are going to be moving around this map, which is the map of the island, and doing different actions in order to eventually be able to get to a point where you can overcome the mission. Each round you can take as many actions as you want, which means each round has like a varied length. So you could do one really quick, you could do one really long, whatever you need to do to kind of get to the point where you potentially overcome the mission. Your actions that you can do is you can move around the map. Every time that you move, though, you are going to create alarm, and you have to put an alarm token out. You can raid, you can repair equipment, and essentially all the things that you are doing are going to be putting alarm out onto the board because you're kind of giving away where you are, which is then going to require you to do what is is called an alarm check. So the main resource in this game is rice. So you have a bag that has tokens in it that have both rice on one side and then a resource number on the other side. You have to do an alarm check by pulling a token out, and if the resource number is higher than the alarm that's in that particular region, you have passed it. Otherwise, you haven't, and something not so great is going to happen. There are two kind of like tracks in this game. One is called Paranoia and one is called Health. Depending on which round of the game you are in, you are going to be manipulating those tracks and moving those tracks down. It represents in the first like 3 rounds that when Hero was new to the island and kind of getting his body used to everything, it was more likely that his health was going to take a hit. But nearing the end of his time, it was more likely that his mind was going to take the hit because he knew how to survive. He had done it for so long, and so it was starting to affect his mind, basically. So you're going to be doing these different checks. Like I said, you're going to be repairing equipment because some of the mission cards, in order to overcome them, you have to have a certain amount of resources, or you have to have a particular item, like maybe it's binoculars or a rifle or something like that, and it either needs to be kind of available or uncharged or whatever, so you have to kind of go through and either flip them or unflip them. So there's going to be different things. And then the other thing that you need to keep in mind is that you have to be able to, at the end of the mission, feed Hero, so that's why you need the rice, and any of his companions. So like I said, he's going to start with some companions, so you have to be able to feed them as well. Then there's also event cards that are going to be coming up and either kind of giving you different things that you are going to be doing that might be positive, they might be negative. They might be giving you a reserve card that you can play later. But that's kind of like how it goes. You're just overcoming missions by moving around a map, trying not to overwhelm the areas with alarm, trying not to become paranoid, because if your paranoia and your health kind of cross, you don't survive that. And like I said, it's a varied length of play based on how many actions you take, because there's no limit. You just need to be mindful of not overwhelming yourself, essentially. So I really enjoyed the gameplay of this game. So far, I have really enjoyed all of the solo Salt and Pepper games. Actually, I feel like I've enjoyed literally all of their games that they've put out so far. They're putting out some really, really great stuff. I like it. I'm going to continue to play it. I, however, am pretty familiar with playing war games, which have sensitive issues in it, like we play everything. But if that is not something that you are comfortable with, then I completely understand why you may not want to try this one. In that case, I would recommend Witchcraft because it doesn't have the war theme. But I really liked it. I think the gameplay is really cool, and it actually it almost like challenges you a little bit to think about different people's perspectives in this particular historical story, because you might be on one side thinking from your own perspective, but putting yourself in Hero's shoes or putting yourself in the people of the Philippines' shoes. It just it really is thought-provoking, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
it sparks a dialogue.
It certainly does. But that is Onoda. So if you're interested, I will put the links and everything that you need to know in the description below. Last but not least, Jeff, something totally different.
The opposite end of the spectrum. We have from Pandasaurus Games, Boxtop Pinball Haunted House.
Yeah, buddy.
This was sent to us from Pandasaurus Games, so thank you to Pandasaurus Games for sending this along.
Shout out to them.
This is basically what you expect it to be. This is a Boxtop Pinball game. Yeah. It is going to have a series of levels that come in the box. The box itself is part of that representation of a pinball case, pinball machine. If you've ever seen or played Tumble Dice, it looks similar to that in structure. It's a staggered kind of 3-level box system. And on those boxes are going to be a bunch of different things. There's going to be point modifiers. There's going to be minions that are out that you're going to be trying to hit. There's holes in the boxes. There's bumpers. There's clue tokens. There's a whole bunch of things. Yeah. And all of these things represent a pinball machine. Ultimately, what you'll be doing is one at a time, depending on how many people you're playing, you're going to be flicking one of your it's a D6 with 1, 2, and 3 on it. Twice, obviously. Yeah. And you're going to be taking your dice and you're going to be flicking it down the pinball machine. Depending on how that outcome happens, you're going to score points. That's the whole game. You're going to be scoring points for hitting those search clues, which you then get to add to your personal supply, and they have points on them. Mm-hmm. There's a bit of a set collection where there's like 3 or 4 monsters out on the board, and for each one you hit, each different one you hit, you'll get a set collection bonus. Yeah. There's sections on the board, like here, there's a big bonus section. So if your dice lands here, or is here at the end of the round, you'll get a bonus based off of what die face is showing. So if it's a 3, you're going to get 3 times whatever that bonus is. But everyone's shooting their die. So if yours is sitting there, and someone else flicks it off one of these bonuses or off the board, well, guess what?
Into a hole.
It's gone. You're not going to score those points. And then the die faces are basically what I think is the best way to describe it as the point system, the base point system. So if it's a 3, then you're going to get 3 if it's just sitting there, not on a bonus. But if it's on a bonus, you're going to get 3 times whatever that bonus is. Set collection happens as soon as you hit one of the monsters. The clues hit as soon as you hit them, and you add it to your private supply, and then ultimately play through 3 rounds, I believe, and then whoever has the most points wins. This is an incredibly fun time. It's a silly party game, fun dexterity game where you're just flicking some dice. Yeah. Great for kids, great for people that have never played board games before. There's nothing to learn, and there's really no skill. No. Like, there's skill, but there's not. Yeah. I mean,
the same skill in any kind of dexterity game.
You can set this up and play it with literally any human. Yes. And in my opinion, probably have a good time with it. The one thing I'll say is, like, the theme is kind of like whatever. Like, it doesn't need to be haunted house. Yeah. I understand why they made it haunted house. There can be a bunch of different ones, and if you're into the theme, that's cool. Yeah. But realistically, in the grand scheme of things, you're just flicking dice and scoring points. Yeah. But and again, I don't dismiss the theme because I think it's a bad game. It's just like you could just do that on any theme.
Oh, it could be any theme.
And have the exact equivalent experience. Mm-hmm. But super fun. If you've got kids, I think this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's ages 6 and up in case anybody is wondering, and it plays in like 15 minutes. I would say, like, if you're a fan of games like super skill pinball, but it's too complicated or you want to play with like other people, this is like a dexterity version of that.
I think if you're a fan of dexterity games in general, this would be one to grab. And like the other thing too is, like, I compare this to Tumble Dice because Tumble Dice is a very similar style of game. Totally. But the thing with Tumble Dice is this is crazy expensive. Yeah. Because it is like a big production wooden board. You get the same experience in this bad boy for
more silly fun.
And there's a lot more like ways to like score points and stuff. Yeah. In this, and at a fraction of the price point. Totally. So if you've been wanting to try Tumble Dice and just don't want to pull the trigger on it, here you go.
Have a good time with Boxtop Pinball Haunted House. Thank you to Pandasaurus. Yeah. All right, so those are 5 games that we have been playing recently and what we think about them. We'd love to know in the description below. Have you played any of these? Are you interested in any of them? We would just freaking love to know. We love to know all of the things, so put them down in the comments. But that is everything that we have for you today. Now, if you're interested in buying board games, like any of the many we mentioned today, you should first start by checking your friendly local gaming store. For us, that is
the Boardroom Game Cafe.
That's right, Jeff. And if you like what you see,
please subscribe.
We hope to see you again soon. And now, we say goodbye. Goodbye.
Later days. Here comes Juno.
Unbelievable.
They're all just dramatic.
That's a drama show.
Like, there's so much. All of them are dramatic. It's all the whole show's about. It's just drama, drama, drama.
Drama, drama, drama. Ain't that always the way? Okay, ready?
I just want people to know, Jamie changed those and it made no difference.
It did, a little bit.
Jamie has this thing where she just has to, like, it's similar to when we go into a store, she has to touch everything.
I love touching
It could be completely perfect and she'd be like, oh, it just needs a little tweak. And it's like,
something,
no,
something.
It doesn't.
I don't know what got all over my nails.
Yeah.
Well, we always have the wiener dog.
Juno doesn't like change. Yeah. Like, for example, we bought a couple recliners, and she wouldn't come to the living room. for like a month when we first got the recliners.
That's true.
Like, she doesn't want to be in there.
She doesn't want to be anywhere. Look, speaking of rooting flow, there's a friggin' microphone in the shot. Not even using it. All right, Jeff, get them muscles out.
I carried this for like 4 blocks.
Yeah, I had to come help you.
You didn't, though.
Well, I came at the last minute.
Oh my god. I would love to actually weigh it. It's got to be like 40 pounds.
Oh, Jeff's mic fell off, and then he tripped over a light.
I hit the light.
Don't worry. In the new studio,
I can't wait for.
Everything's going to be off the floor.
It was so heavy, I dropped my mic. Hi, Bean. Gina's like, oh, are we moving?
Gina's like, I hate my life. Udi just sent me a Christmas email. Halloween must be over.